Jason. So
Hi.
that's Robert J. Moore. He's my coach, and thank you so much. He came to visit us, not feeling well. Jason Cisneros, one of my favorite people. So earlier, when Lori was talking about her event, and she does a 2 hour Zoom once a month, and she has speakers. My next two speakers are both from there. So Jason is first, and after him, it's Brian. I see Brian's already in here. Jason Cisneros. First of all, I love saying your name, Jason. Is Cisneros Greek? I keep asking you.
It's Spanish.
Spanish.
Yes.
Cisneros.
From
Cisneros.
Spain. From Spain. It's a Cisneros.
Cisneros. You're half Italian. So I mean, not only is he a phenomenal speaker, coach, et cetera. And Jason, now I'm going to be careful how I say this because last time it was a riot. The reason I love Jason, one of the reasons I love Jason so much is because he is heavily involved with eliminating sex trafficking for kids, right?
That's way better than last time.
I know. Last time I was like, oh, he's involved with sex trafficking. And he's like,
Yeah.
I just want to clear it up. No, I'm not. I'm like, that's not what I meant.
That's funny.
Eliminating
Yeah.
it. Hugely involved in that. So with that, I am going to give you Jason Cisneros. We had too much fun over that. I love him. He's starting to be a regular on here now.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. Where do you want me to go today? What do you
Goal Junkies is our theme. So talk about goals. I know this is one of your favorite subjects.
Yeah. It's interesting. When you think about the word goals, I started to have an aversion to it um, many years ago, and here's why. Like, if we're being honest with each other, like all of us have set goals. All of us have said, you know what, I want to take my game to the next level. I want to go from, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to make an extra $100,000. I want to blah, blah, blah. And so I started to, and I went through the same exact scenario where, I was just setting goals and I would not hit them very often. It was kind of crazy actually. And then I started to think of it in different terms. And the term that I started to use was the term outcome. What was my outcome? And it's just a subtle shift in language, but the idea of an outcome is something that sat better for me. Everybody that's watching, here or on replay, you could try this experiment with yourself, just changing that. Because I think a lot of us, again, you go, oh, I'm going to set some goals. Right now, we're about partial of the way through. I'm looking at the date to see we're partial of the way through January, and they actually have a day. I think it was Friday, the second Friday after January 1st is called Quitter's Day. And it's set up because everybody sets a bunch of goals. They call them New Year's resolutions, whatever it is. And then by the time you get halfway through January, they've already quit. They've already given up on themselves. And so I think that's indicative of the word goals. Now, outcomes, and there's a strategic way to kind of think about the idea of outcomes. I started this process, and it still kind of works this way, even though we're advanced into the digital world. Whenever I start a project, or I'm going to have a consequential conversation, or I'm going to move something forward, and that's going to take my time, right? We all know that the one true equalizer is that we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And so when I look at that, I go, okay, cool. What's the outcomes? And I start with a blank sheet of paper. I happen to have switched over to Remarkable now, which is another form. But in each one of them, in each one of my folders, what you'll see is at the beginning is the first blank sheet of paper, and at the bottom right, I sit down and I just put 3 bullet points. And those 3 bullet points are, what is the outcome, right? What's the outcome? And this, I'll see if I can point to it here. This trophy right here that I'm pointing at behind me with my pen, this is it's a good, actually a great story behind that trophy. We went to a business mastery with Tony Robbins. There's 5 to 7,000 people that go. This happened to be an advanced business mastery in London. And I'm not a big participator in, like, when you have these big events, I'm not a big participator in like getting together in groups and, sharing all this other kind of stuff. That's not really my personality. But one of my friends was there and she said, Jason, I want you to participate in this thing with me. And I want you to be the CEO. So the whole game, here's the game setup. 5 to 7,000 people, you put together 10, 15, 20 people in a team. Somebody is assigned as the CEO of the company. You assign different roles and you compete against hundreds and hundreds of other businesses, okay, for the outcome of raising money, engaging the most people. There's marketing, there's like operations. You're basically testing and utilizing all of your business skills in a condensed 5-day period of time against other people that are your peers or from around the world in multiple different kinds of businesses. And so I said, you know what? I'm gonna participate this time. I'll take on the role of the CEO, and you're competing against all these different people. And so we started out. We had our first little team meeting, and we said, okay, cool. What are we going to call ourselves? And that was somebody else in the group. I said, I don't. Before we ever even start with what we're going to call ourselves or what we're going to do, let's sit down and write out what our outcomes are. Okay. Same exact process that I'm telling you about right now. Blank sheet of paper. You don't need any technology. You just sit down, blank piece of paper, bottom right hand corner, you just build a little box and you put in outcomes. Okay. So I had somebody on our team do that. And we went around the group and I said, okay, what's our outcome? And they're like, oh, we want to be called this and we want to raise this and we want to do that. And I'm like, no, 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 no. What is our very first outcome? And we kept going back and forth. And I said, look, our first outcome is to win. Like if we're in competition, the very first outcome. Now, is that different than goal? You have to set with it in your own mind. Some things mean different things to different people, but it wasn't a goal. It was the outcome of the entire process. Was if we're going to spend our time over this 4 to 5 days competing against all these other great business owners from around the world, what's our number one outcome? The number one outcome is to win. Okay, dominoes. Right? When you're talking about setting goals or taking your life to the next level or whatever, you want to hit one domino that knocks over as many other ones as you possibly can, because that reduces the amount of effort that it's going to take for you to be able to get to your outcome. And so we put that as our number one outcome, right? We're here to win this thing. And so advance all the way through the process. We had picked a name at the very beginning of this event, and we started, you're like chanting, everybody's chanting their business names, trying to get a Tony Robbins on stage to get his attention. And we were chanting our name, and then somebody yelled out, step up, step up. And then we got the whole place chanting step up. And Tony from stage said, hey, looks like Team Step Up is taking an early lead. And so we immediately changed our business name to Team Step Up. Tony renamed us, right? Authority in the front of the room. Everybody heard him announce it. Now we've got a brand and it's been acknowledged. So I tell you this story because a lot of us are not clear. Okay. We're not clear on exactly what our outcomes are. So I want you to, everybody that's watching this, just stop for just a second, look, reverse engineer to the beginning of the year. It's an easy process, and say, what were the goals that you set? And let's turn them into outcomes. Okay. Start your own little white piece of paper with 3 or 4 or 5 dots at the bottom. Put a little box in there and say, here's my outcomes. And start there, because that gives you the flexibility, because what you're looking for is the outcome. And so many people are rigid in the machine that they build that they forget that it's taking them somewhere. They're building a car, and they're like, I'm going to make sure that this car looks exactly like this, and then it'll be perfect. That's not how business works. That's not how losing weight goes. It's not how improving your relationships goes. It's not how any of this goes. It's not a straight line. It is meant for you to have a desired destination for yourself that is so crystal clear that the approach no longer matters, right? Not that the approach doesn't matter. It's that it becomes flexible so that you can get the feedback as to whether you're getting closer to or further away. Most people in life are focused on the vehicle, not the destination, in so many ways, in so many ways. So you think about your marriage, what's the destination, right? Go all the way to the end. Like looking back on your life, what do you want that relationship to say? When you're passing, what do you want your wife to say? What do you want your kids to have said about your relationship with your wife? What do you want that relationship to have had, the impact that you want to have on close friends, close family, your religious life, your the world in general? What do you want to have said about your marriage? Then you reverse engineer to where you are. And so same thing with your health, right? What is the destination? Is it to look good in a swimsuit? Is it to have massive vitality, to have clarity of thought all day, to be able to compete in a world that is becoming more about thinking than it is anything else? Why are you doing the things that you're doing with your health? Then that starts to set up how your behaviors. What do you want your business to do? And this is where we spend an amazing amount of time with our clients at Anton J, which is now, we've started a new brand, rebranded into Built to Exit, because that's it, right? We even Anton J on the consulting side, it wasn't clear to people what we do. And what we actually do is we help people that own a business be able to construct it in such a way that somebody will want to buy it at some point in time. Okay, that's either a specific time frame for a business owner, or it's making sure that it's optimized so that at any time it can be bought or sold. So we switch that. This is my outcome box in real time. Okay, 15 years of Anton J of helping people actually build their businesses to be able to be purchased or sold or set up to where the business owner got all their time back and they could go start another business, start a charity, sail the seven seas with their loved ones, whatever it was. There was an exit in mind. And that's what we did. We helped businesses get to a place where they could exit, just like I did in my own companies. And so having that conversation, it was like, well, why don't we just rename the entire company, or at least the division of it, as Built to Exit? So now our customers know exactly, it's in the name of the business. If you want to exit your business, which by the way, everybody exits, whether that's through passing away, whether that's through failure, whatever it is, everybody exits their business eventually. And so it's just common sense that you should build your business for the best exit that you can possibly have, passing it on to your kids, making sure that if something happens to you right now, that burden is not put onto your family. We just went through speaking of Goal Junkies, right? We just went through a process with somebody where the father who was running the business, had run the business for 30 years, passed away in his office. The daughter happened to be working in that company, so she knew some stuff about it. The wife knew virtually nothing. The son was off doing other things, knew virtually nothing. And all of a sudden, the breadwinner and the owner of the company is gone. And so that creates massive on top of the tragedy of losing a spouse, a father, a dad, a brother, those kind of things. On top of that, now there's something that is what business does is it is constantly demanding cash, employees, taxes, insurance, all of the things. That doesn't stop when the main breadwinner is no longer there to assess it. So those things start to compile, and all of that pressure gets put on, guess who? The heirs. That gets put on the wife, that gets put on the daughter, that gets put on the son. And so there was no exit plan in place. We started our journey and I started my journey as a turnaround, fixing the most broken businesses. So in those situations, we also have the turnaround skill sets to be able to help with, and that's why they brought us in. But it reminded me in a very deep way, because I fell in love with the family. It reminded me in a very deep way that everybody exits and how matters. So your goals, if you're a goal junkie and you're great at it and you are able to achieve those goals and you're able to crush it and all that kind of stuff, stick with the word goal. If you don't and you have you want to shift that over, you call it outcomes, and you really give it a deeper meaning, right? You give it a deeper meaning, like this trophy again that I've got behind me. What ended up happening was we set that intent. We got really crystal clear about it. I even said jokingly when we very first started that process, I said, I have a vision of Tony Robbins bowing down to me and handing me our trophy, right? And I've got a picture on my phone of legitimately Tony Robbins. He wasn't like on his knees bowing down, but he, as he handed me the trophy, he kind of bowed his head in respect, right? So outcomes with massive clarity and intense detail, with an emotional attachment and non-negotiable commitment to achieving that outcome, that makes you different than everybody else, right? Everybody likes to get together at the end of 2024 and what are we going to do? And most businesses that I watch, they sit in a boardroom and they go, all right, what did we do? We did $10 million last year. What should we do next year? Well, let's do 11. It's called what my mentor, Keith Cunningham says. Keith Cunningham's The Rich Dad and the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books, but it's the equivalent of a rectal pull is what he says. He's a, it's just pulling something right out of your butt and going, okay, we're going to do 11. And what did we say we were going to do in 2023? What did we say we were going to do in 2024? Did those align? And did our rectal pull come together for us this last year? And the answer is usually no, because people in the business don't really care if you hit the goals or not. They don't really care. Most of the time, they're not incentivized to be able to hit these new achievements. And secondarily, the only person that they think cares is the business owner. And the only reason they think the business owner cares is because they just want to make more money. So nobody really cares except for the business owner. There's lots of different ways you can attach other people's outcomes to the outcome and the performance of the business, but that's a subject for another day. My point is that if you own a business, if you're in a marriage, if you're a father or a parent or, of any kind, if you're working with charities, then it's you, right? What we're finding out in this day and age, especially with the onslaught of AI, is that this is pushing it back to the individual. It's not necessarily the old model of giant teams. It's pushing it back to the person, to the individual, and the quality of the AI that's being produced out there is the quality of the questions that the individual is able to ask, and then solving the problem, putting workflows out there that can either be done digitally or definitely needs a human being, being able to build those teams. So I look at, and I know this isn't an AI session, but I've been very, very skeptical of the AI world. But when I finally was able to drill down enough to know and understand that AI is just a workflow, it's a flow chart in real time, and to understand that the only time you would build a workflow is, guess what? To create a specific outcome. So it ties in here, right? Your AI is meant to achieve an outcome. It's meant to achieve a goal. And if it's not, that this is the flawed thinking. This is the flawed application of people's mindset and thought processes, is that if you don't refine that through thinking, then your approach needs to change. Crystal clarity. This is going to be the difference between the winners and the losers over the next, we used to say decade to 2 decades. This is going to be the difference between the winners and the losers in the next 3 years, is the ability to be able to be crystal clear on what that outcome is, the goal, right? That outcome is, and then to be able to reverse engineer to where you are and what are the steps, what's the workflow that needs to be done to be able to achieve that outcome. That's the magic. Okay. That's the magic. And I love the subject because that's all AI is right now, y'all. It's literally just who can think the clearest about the outcome of whatever that agent is, right? Agentic thinking, and agentic build out is why am I building this? Why am I building this workflow? Whether it needs to be done by a human or whether it can be done by a computer, what is that outcome? And you play with that approach until you reach that outcome, until you reach the desired outcome. So I don't know how much of that you heard, Marianne, but that's when we talk about the subject of goal junkies, this is
I love it.
what's coming up.
I love it. I love it. AI is so awesome and a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it can be, but that's the point. Like I love the subject because it ties right into it of saying, all AI is just a workflow. That's it. It's just an activated flow chart. And now you have a machine that's going to be able to follow that, or you're going to have a human, either one. And so if the approach is flawed, so will be the outcome. So if your outcome is not crystal clear, if your goal is not crystal clear, then the whatever workflow you build will not achieve it, right? So that's how I feel about that.
That's right. How old were you when you first started doing goals? Like, when you first started writing them down? Or
I was probably the last time I can remember setting a goal was when the first time I can remember setting a goal was when I was in 7th grade.
wow.
And I had a real burning desire to be a world champion wrestler. And we're not talking about what you see on television.
Right.
I'm talking about real wrestling.
Real.
And so my coach, in order to do that, my coach, a legend in wrestling, I was blessed to be able to accidentally end up in his program, but it was a guy by the name of Charlie White, and he's in the Wrestling Hall of Fame, just an amazing coach, and he started putting me in 18 and under wrestling tournaments when I was 15.
Mhm.
Right. So I'm 15 wrestling 18-year-olds. And just to be able to get my skill up. And I mean, they kicked my ass. Like it was embarrassing at some, at a lot of levels when you're wrestling so far above your skill set. But he knew that that was my outcome. And that put me, in world championship matches. That put me in state finals matches. That put me in national final matches where I was able to win a few, going undefeated in a few areas. Some of the bigger, harder wrestling tournaments where they would bring in, you had double A, triple A, all the way up to 5A schools. And they had this one that was called the Warrior Classic. And Warrior Classic combined all of the schools from like 3 or 4 states, the best wrestlers in one tournament. And winning that one was probably my biggest achievement. And where I thought, well, setting that goal was really cool. Now, if I was to go back and coach myself back then, it would be everything that I just said in the first segment is don't look at it like a goal, look at it like an outcome. And then be very specific because there's lots of world championships, there's lots of national championships, there's how you're going to win, what weight you're going to win. There's all kinds of details that belong in your outcome. Whatever your outcome is, it has to be so crystal clear that you could program now, again, in real life, you could program a computer or a robot to be able to achieve it, right? And we've really missed that in being of tremendous value to our employees over time is because we say, hey, here's a vague outcome. Go achieve it. No instructions, no feedback, no, it's just like do it. Those days are gone. You cannot run a company like that anymore, right? And there's some vestiges, like some ghosts of business past, but those businesses will not be here in 24 to 48 months. Like they will not be here anymore. You've got to get into this mindset of being an outcome junkie instead of a goal junkie.
I will do another one called Outcome Junkies.
Yes.
Exit. It kind of goes along with the way that you do business, the way your business, exit, because your focus is on the exit, right? So
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
goes.
they used to, there's a saying in boxing that says speed kills, right? And it just means the faster your hand moves. It's different than street fighting because accuracy is what kills in the right kind of fight. Like how now with AI and the way that we're looking at it, because I've always said speed kills in business because people are hurrying too fast. They're moving along and they're like, I got to make sales, got to make sales, got to make sales. And those sales end up actually killing the business. So there's a saying I've got that says most businesses die of indigestion rather than starvation. In other words, they take on too much business. They don't have the skill sets to be able to deliver at scale. And so they go out of business because their reputation goes down the toilet. Now with AI, you're able to, for the next 3 years, 2 to 3 years, you're able to add speed and accuracy, which those are the best fighters, right? Those are the best fighters. It's speed and accuracy combined is a lethal combination. And so but again, if I'm training a left hook and I'm not training it correctly, right? Or I'm throwing it from the wrong angle, I'm not putting my hip into it, I'm not, paying attention to where I'm exposed once I throw a left hook. All of those things take massive amounts of thinking. And those are going to be the winners. The people that are thinkers over the next 3 years, people that can sit down, eliminate distraction, eliminate pettiness, educate themselves on these machines and AI, and get really crystal clear about their own individual outcomes. Those are going to be the winners over the next 3 years. And I don't know what's going to happen to the rest of humanity. I don't know, right? Depends on who ends up at the leadership position, whether they have a heart for humanity or if they have a heart for greed, whether the people, sort of hold together or whether they fall apart as resources start to become scarce as far as money goes. We're entering, like, it's always super in flux. The thing with AI and robotics and all the other advancements that are out there is we don't know. We don't know. When you went from no printing press to a printing press, you went from no printing, went from no um, uh, uh, manufacturers to mass manufacturers. When, you went to food scarcity to no food scarcity, when you went from all of these different transitions that we've gone through as a human race, this one's going to be different. This one's going to be different because we replace the need for human strength with the industrial age. Now we're eliminating the need for human ingenuity and our supposed advantage over all other animals and creation has been our brain. And our brain is about to take a second place. It's about to go into second place. And so nobody knows how that works out for everybody. It's,
No,
you know,
it's good
if
point.
your goal was to be an attorney, for instance, if your goal was to be an attorney, you're done. If that was your goal and you're on that path, I would find something else to do right now. You know, if your a goal was to be a bookkeeper or an accountant, I would start looking for something else to do because these things are going to be replaced. Um, you know, so digging in, finding out what can't be replaced, what you're good at, what you're passionate about. And I'll end with the upside of this is I believe what's going to happen is massive corporations are going to break apart and there's going to be smaller groups of small to mid-sized companies who do business with each other and support each other. And I think that small and mid-sized companies is the place to be to create your own as soon as you possibly can and to serve as many people as you can and implement your technology as you go. Again, with the outcome of building something that somebody else wants to eventually buy from you. And the four things that you got to focus on as far as your goals go: relationship to your customer, having a team, a management team, whether that's now agentic or human, your finances being crystal clean, and having a crystal clear, flushed out exit plan. Those four areas, owning your own business and being super clear about the outcomes in all those areas.
Awesome. As always, Jason, you're such a genius. I love you. Thank you so
I
much.
hope so, man. You know,
You're
I
awesome.
hope that turns out to be true.
You come on to our next one, which is in February 14th. If you're not doing something with your wife during the day, I'm sure you'll be busy at night, but I'm taking her out somewhere in the evening. It happens to be Valentine's Day, but it's called Love Heals.
Love heals. I love that. What's up, Brian?
I was just gonna say, so
Do I
Brian,
get to talk to other guests while they're here? I just want to say
yeah,
hi to them.
you can
Do it.
certainly communicate. Brian's having fun in his building
Yeah,
because I
I'm
had
testing it. Can you guys hear it?
no. And you
Okay,
know what?
good. They just
It
started doing the
happened to
fire
me
alarms.
one time. It happened to me one time, right in the middle of my summit, my fire alarm, like an actual fire, not a testing, but an actual one. I actually had to leave because it was like nonstop. And my
Right.
friends, Sifu, who was on here before, and I don't know if you know Dr. Andrea Adams, they were on and they're like, it's okay, we'll co-host until you get back. This went on for like 45 minutes. So I come back and I'm like, okay, thanks, we're done
Well,
now.
Brian, the good thing is you're using the same setup as I
Sure,
am, and
Mike.
it
Yeah,
kills like all of the sound around us. So it's very,
yeah,
very good.
yeah.
Yeah,
That was the
it was
best
really good.
investment. I like everyone. I started with the Blue Yeti because everybody told me to get that, and when I upgraded to the Shure mic, such a world of difference.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Big time.
Yeah,
Are you connected into like a road on the other side of it? Like a
I'm
road?
not yet. Pardon me,
Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Fire alarms.
So
This is
what's your outcomes for the year, Marianne?
all kinds. I have houses, I have books, I usually write since I was 19 years old, I've been writing 100 goals every
Mm,
somewhere between the last week of December and the first week of January, somewhere in there, I usually come up with about 100. And it could
nice.
be, I was saying one year it was like I have, like I have a house in Arizona on there,
Mm,
and I have like uh Vitamix.
mm,
I wanted to
right.
have a Vitamix. For whatever reason, I didn't already have one. So, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so this year I'm opening up a non-for-profit. Like there's big business goals. There's always, big business goals and then some, it's always weight loss. My whole life, it's always been weight loss goals or, health goals.
Yeah.
Uh, money, always this, that, the other, all kinds. Oh yeah, all the time, all the
That's
time.
good.
I
That's
have
good.
about a 95%, I don't know,
Achievable rate.
yeah, it's
We'll just make up a word, achievable. I don't know if it's a word, but it should be.
achievement rate, I call it.
It is now. Hurry up, get the website.
Now it's a word.
It's in the lexicon. Take that AI,
That's
give
right.
me give me
So
credit for it.
perfect. Thank you so much, Jason. You're the best. You're welcome to